This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Great to have Seabass in the house. Of course, she was celebrating the Western Force's 20 years in the business on Saturday night when the Force just got beaten by the Brumbies.
Yes.
They came to play, but they had all their old-timers there, which was great.
Nick Cummins, the Honey Badger, was
Honey
there.
Badger.
Yeah, he was there. I went to a function on the Friday night with Zero to Hero, actually, and he spoke, and he's just such a funny character.
Did
Isn't
he speak about his time as The Bachelor?
He did not. Hey, do you know what? And that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know about the fallout from The Bachelor, but didn't get to hear about that. Got lots of his little funny colloquialism, whatever he says, you know, like sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage, that type of stuff, which I enjoy. So he's one of your I reckon if you had him as a teammate, you would just push him up to do media all the time and you'd watch him do media because you just not know what comes
look
out
at
of his
him.
mouth.
Look at him. He was selling everything in his life. Isn't it?
He was until he went on The Bachelor, and then everyone kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, he's still doing well though.
Yeah.
Massive social media
like
presence.
fishing and hunting and all that type of boys
things
stuff.
I do, Shaun.
And he is now off the market too. He settled down and
He's
had a
just
couple
had his
of kids.
second kid. Yes. He talked a little bit about that, but it was great. Nathan Sharp as well,
love
Sharpie,
Sharp.
who
He's
the
such a nice
MVP
guy.
medal is named after. So that was great. So afterwards, after the game, the Force didn't win, unfortunately, but after the game, they had a function with the Brumbies players and all the Force people. And one of my co-workers was like, I'll introduce you to people. And when we went up to the room, she's like, I looked for you and I couldn't see you because there was just all these tall humans.
Isn't
And
it amazing?
I was having the best conversations, looking guys eye to eye.
my God.
You found your spot.
I
was
talked about
in
it
a happy
before.
place.
Greg had a thing at his house, and all the Wildcats were there, and it's the first time I didn't feel like one of the tallest in the room, and it's jarring, isn't it? Being tall.
Yeah.
You never experienced that.
No, not well. I was always the tallest at netball, and when I would go to the AIS for camps, when we ran into the volleyball players and the rowers, I always got really excited. And I get quite funny when people come up to me, oh my God, you're so tall. But I did the same thing to them.
know.
I was getting food and I turned around with my tray and like bumped into this chest, and I went.
And you had to look up. You had to look up
And it
for
was
the first time.
fantastic. So
That's
it was
great,
great.
Seabass.
So no, it was good. It was a great night. Lots of good celebrating, and obviously reminiscing about the past, and great to meet some of the former players who I'm hoping to engage back into the fold this year.
Brilliant.
Well, it's quite amazing to see the players who turned up there, and I was watching it, and the names that I forget that played for the Western Force. There's been some big-time players that have been a part of that club for 20 years.
You remember when it stopped? It was like, wait, there's these big time players.
Yeah.
You had all those names. Yeah.
Giddos,
Drew
Sharps,
Mitchell,
Drew Mitchell,
Giddo,
Yep.
like
David Pocock.
who's a bloody independent
Senator now,
Like,
yeah.
We were looking at that team that you brought in last time, all the photos,
Yes.
and there was a guy named Harry Potter.
Yes, HP. Yes.
Do you know his name's banned now? You can no longer call a baby Harry Potter. And I don't know whether it's anyone named Potter can't name their baby Harry, or it just can't be like Harry Potter.
I think it was
McManus
as the
But
first
that's
name,
now a banned name.
Really?
Yeah, no.
So he's wow. Do you know what? He hates it. Like apparently that's a good way to
Of course he
get on his
does.
bad
What's
side.
his nickname? Is it the Wizard?
Just Potts.
It'd be Hogwarts.
Yeah.
No way. You'd have to be the Wizard.
No, it'd be Hogwarts.
No.
Hoggy, it's too long a name to be able to call out.
No, but it's a good warning. Like,
Hoggy.
always use
So you shorten it to Hoggy. Yeah.
Hoggy. Okay, I get it.
But you know what? It's weird because I'm on all the group chats, and yesterday it was like, okay, when is the team going to be announced that we're leaving for Fiji today? So they literally had yesterday, they had a medical meeting, and then they found out whether
and
going
then
to
they're on the
Fiji
plane and
today.
gone.
Yep. So imagine it's Mother's Day, they're trying to get around, you know, lots of them have babies and things like that, and they're trying to also work out whether they're flying to another country as well today. So it's a very
wild,
quick
isn't it?
turnaround for them, and it's do or die now. They need to win these last couple of games and probably rely on a few other results to go their way if they're going to make finals.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to other sports, our WA football teams in the 4 days didn't do too well. But if you were playing football on the weekend and you didn't get injured, that's a win because Guy Sebastian, as we've read about, has blown an Achilles, which is not easy to do. And he was playing in a social game. Well, he was playing in the amateur league over in Victoria with
Masala
Brendan Favola.
Dandenong thirds.
And interesting enough, before that game took place, some of the other teams in the league were complaining because they reckon Fev and Guy had been they were going to get paid, and there was a thing to do with how much money can get paid.
So that team the week before lost by 229 points and turned it around and had a win.
They had a win.
So, yeah.
Because they had Fev playing for them?
Anyway, Fev said, and they had to declare that him and Guy Sebastian weren't doing it for any payment.
And Guy, he was only supposed to play the first half. He was supposed to then go off, catch a plane back to Sydney for a mate's 40th. And he sang at half. Sang at half time, and he went, "I'm going to stick around." Played in the second half and ruptured his Achilles tendon.
That's why you should always listen to yourself when you have to leave a function.
Yeah.
It's the right call.
It is.
Rugby
is.
Was it Shannon Knoll on the other team?
Should have been. Shannon. He loves his footy too.
Because in the end of the day, they're on the same series. Everything like that. Everyone still knows who
Makes
Shannon Knoll
sense.
is. But it's like when you look at Shannon Knoll, you go, oh.
Yeah, you do. You do that a lot.
Can I ask you something serious, Shaun?
Yes.
Shaun Darcy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him.
Yes, go.
He came off on the weekend. Obviously,
Are you still writing for the West Australian?
No,
at this point?
I'm not. I'm not a journalist, but I'm just a footy fan now. And I'm just very curious because I was watching the game and I actually had tipped Richmond, so I was cheering for Richmond at the end. I feel terrible.
No,
I had also tipped Collingwood, so I wasn't really going for the Dockers. But when I saw Shaun Darcy come off and he looked distraught, what is your thoughts on his future?
Well, I hope that he can get through this. Justin said it was more of a knee jarring and stuff like that, so hopefully that won't keep him out of the game for too long, if at all. Here's the thing. So if you listen to the press conference of Craig McRae after that game, he was talking about the guys that came into the Collingwood football team, and he sets... His idea is we want to set them up to be successful, i.e. make sure that they've got the opportunity to be able to get themselves fit, strong, healthy, so when the opportunity comes to play, they can play.
Okay.
Shaun had come off the back of getting the screws out of his ankles, and I know everyone saw him in the pre-season that he'd lost weight.
And you got to think,
and he got
the size of him,
fit.
that's basically the whole aisle 15 of Bunnings.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Screws out.
That's a lot. And he was probably rushed back into the team because Luke Jackson got injured. And I think if you have your time again, are you setting that person up to be at the very best to be able to come in and play?
So you need to take Tate McRae's advice.
Which is?
That one. The guy was
It's Craig McRae.
Oh, Craig McRae.
Oh,
Tate McRae doesn't coach Collingwood.
Very good though, Tate McRae. We're a big fan. And
Tate McRae doesn't coach.
if you look at also Hayden Young, he had 2 hamstrings in the pre-season, the same thing. The guys got injured at the wrong time at Freo, and then they got, okay, well, they're fit and strong and healthy. We'll just put them back into the team. In a perfect world, you give them more games, more opportunity, they hit form, then you play them and everyone's a winner. So I think that's the case.
So Shaun's going to go back to Waffle, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, no, he should have played, in an ideal world, he would have played more games than
Yes.
When you feel like your career's in question,
Yeah.
what does that do to every game? Because you'll be like, I don't want to get injured, I don't want to do this. Is that how do you clear your mind to not worry about that?
Nathan, you need to make sure that the first port of call for you is the sports psychologist to keep you It's not keep you grounded. It's to keep you in the moment and get rid of the past.
And stop concentrating on every tiny thing you're doing and just let it be.
And there's a lot of noise, a lot of outside noise that you've got to tune out.
Yeah. It's very difficult, and you really. I mean, Caitlin's lived this time.
You go back to the joy of playing. Like I remember being in the hub and being on the sideline for Giants and being really frustrated and getting made to play twos back with you know all the other young girls that weren't getting court time as well. And I just tried to think about why do I like playing netball and like the people around me and
because
things like
psychologically I've seen it and I can't remember what the word is, but an athlete can get in their own head and suddenly they can't shoot a goal.
Like the yips.
Is
it the yips?
Yeah.
The yips are real.
Yeah, they're absolutely in all sports, and the only thing you can do is control the controllables. You've heard that 1,000 times, but that's the only thing. But you need to be really insular.
Yeah.
Because the outside noise is prolific and you're reading the papers and people walking down the street that are just saying, hey, what about this?
Yeah.
And whilst
Do we get the yips
they don't
in this?
think that's making a difference, it does.
You get tongue-tied, surely.
No, it's some live reads when we know there's something. There's a word that one of us can't say and we practice.
One of us or me?
Read into it what you will.
Thank you. But if I go back to, say, Shaun in a perfect world, so when the one time I had some time off because of my knee and then I started playing again and I thought I'd be great to come back and just play straight in the team.
Yeah.
Anyway, I played. Mark Harvey said to me, no, you're going to go and play in the Waffle. And I said, no worries. So I go down to play a game against East Perth. I run around. I had 15 possessions. And although I look fit and healthy and all that stuff, I haven't played footy for 5 weeks. I was cooked.
Yeah.
The next week when I play, I had 25 touches and I played not bad. And then he made me play one more game. And that game I played really well. But the self-confidence and getting back in the rhythm, Nathan, that you mentioned before, that was there. So then you can go on to then...
It's like how we all think we can play tennis.
100%.
What they should do is just drop you back to if you go back to the Waffle and you have an okay game, just drop you back to the Ammos the following week until you're absolutely dominant. You're playing in the under-12s and you're just like, in your face.
Kids, knocking them over.
So what's the drop back from here? Go do some community radio, go do some grounded out, get your confidence
Radio
up.
Lollipop.
Love it.
The sad thing is we wouldn't be able to get a gig on community community radio.
Can I say,
no?
in these circumstances, there would be players who could come in and take your place, but with Fremantle's injury list.
Yeah, that's a difficulty, isn't it?
It's challenging. Last one, West Coast Fever. I hear Amy went to West
was
Coast
there.
Fever. She
Yes.
had a great time.
Sam was there too.
Yes, Sam. How did you go hosting the box? Did ladies go wild?
Yeah, it was so
Sam.
good. Not enough
Sam,
me for the
Sam
netball.
wore Velcro pants and Velcro tops.
Was
He
there
was
just
ready.
in case here if you need, but they didn't need, luckily. They were up the whole game. They dominated. But just seeing up close, seeing just how impressive.
Physical, hey?
They are specimens, and the little bits of bumping and grinding.
Oh, yeah.
New
I think
For a
appreciation.
non-contact sport, with a lot of
That was
contact.
just in the box.
Yeah, I think all the stuff you just said then, Shaun, you can never say that sentence.
No, I couldn't.
Or any of them.
I liked it, but I
Together
couldn't
or
say
separately?
it. I couldn't.
Great.
Thank you, Seabass.
Seabass.
Pleasure. Great
Thanks,
work as
Seabass.
always.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Bit of around the grounds to kick things off, and we'll start with Jack Della Maddalena, who's the WA man, who's the first West Australian to win a UFC title, a welterweight title yesterday in 5 rounds against Bilal Muhammad. Took care of him at the end. Probably fitness was one of those things, because you've got to be strong to the end of the line, harder for longer, and he was able to get that done.
And softer
wink,
for quick
wink.
times is okay too, guys.
wink,
Don't worry
wink.
about it.
So good. Fantastic news for Perth.
I know.
The UFC is such a big thing. It's amazing when you talk about UFC to some people that you don't expect to watch it.
yeah.
They get right
You
into
used to think it was just boneheads and meatheads.
Yeah, 100%,
And it's not, Shaun.
Yeah.
It's the social
It's a
set of
collective.
London.
It's a collective, but it's
the
not for
British in the
everyone.
crowd.
Not for everyone.
No.
But here's Jack. They asked when he was interviewed after the match. He was asked a lot of things about Perth, and he can't wait to get back.
Can I just say
Yes,
before
Nat?
you play it that we had it on the screen before, and Nathan looked up at and he went, "Oh my God!" And I don't know, he won.
And I went,
His
isn't that
face is-
terrible? That sport, he's the winner. And look at his face. He
You
won.
can hear it a bit when he's talking, his face is a bit swollen in places.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so after the fight when he was interviewed, he looked like he'd copped a couple of hits, not many, but this is about an hour afterwards.
Do you know what this
and
reminds
so
me
that's
of?
when everything starts swelling.
Really
and-
swelling.
So
Bruising
I've never
up there.
seen this guy before,
Yep.
so I've only seen that version of him. It was like when I went to that Bucks night, remember? And I rocked up there, and the Buck, who I didn't know either, just before I got there, he got stung in the middle of the eyes by a bee.
that's right.
So his forehead was all swollen, so I never even knew what that guy really looked like. So I don't know what this guy looks like. Is he a normal-looking person that doesn't have a head?
It looks like a
looks
guy
like
that's
a
been in a
baboon's
lot of
ass,
fights.
normally, or
Like
not?
a lot of fights,
That nose is unfortunately always like that.
It's seen some action, yeah.
But it's
yeah.
smelling
Well
something really great
worn.
around the corner.
Well, let's have a listen to Jack about talking about Perth.
It was a lot of fun, Looking at my face, I didn't think Bilal had that in him to do that much damage, but he did pretty well. It's just surreal, Yeah, I'm just going to enjoy this moment because obviously life goes by very quick, So before long, I'm going to be back in Perth in the trenches preparing for another big fight. And then before long, I'll be in fight week with those crazy nerves going again.
There you go.
Well, wait, you could have said more.
Perth.
Like,
He was actually asked a
about
lot.
the bell tower.
I don't think it's his strength being interviewed.
Evidently, his face looks like you drove it out of the library car park.
Yes, it does.
There was a
yes,
lot
it
of damage.
does.
There's certainly a lot of damage.
Jack Della Maddalena's face and
You
my
drove it out
Mazda
of it.
CX-5.
It's actually I'd
Can't tell
say
them
his
apart.
face is a bit better.
Moving on to the AFL, and the West Coast Eagles supporters thought they had a win
close.
yesterday. They were so close. 2 points was the difference in the end.
Devastation.
Nelly like winning.
Yeah, it was nearly like winning. They were so much better in the midfield.
It was
and
definitely winnable.
It's an
Yeah.
area that they've been struggling with all year long. So there was much improved from the midfield division. That gave them a chance to win. The last quarter, they couldn't find a way of getting
Well, that's
it
how
out
you
of
got to
defence.
win it.
Yeah,
Sean.
you got to win the last
Gotta win the
quarter.
last
the last
quarter,
quarter. Oh, is Nelly a win like is that exciting
Well, it's
still?
better than a
Because you're
thumping.
going, there might be some.
It's progress. You're moving in the right direction. But geez, they've lost a couple by 2 points, and it's like now, can't they just cut a break?
That was their best four-quarter effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely. Here's their coach, Andrew McWalter.
We're not looking for a short-term fix here. We're trying to build a way of playing and the behaviours that we think will win for a long period of time. So there's some little wins we're having along the way. We're judged by win-loss, I understand that, but we're getting a lot of experience that will help these guys, particularly our younger players, for a long period of time. So we'll just keep looking into that and find our little areas where we're having some success in and hopefully singing the songs not far around the corner.
That's a good
Like I said.
attitude. But you know what? Even just like, he goes, we're not after one of those jaggy sort of wins. Like one would be good.
It
Yeah,
would be.
it really would.
I mean, it's just like,
really would.
I know that it's not important to you guys, but like, fans probably say, that'd be great.
We would take it.
I actually suspect that they'll win on Sunday against St Kilda.
Well, the team's getting
Jerry McGovern back into the team. I do. I told you that they'll go close against Essendon.
Yeah.
I did, and I was bang on the money there. Just for instance, there's a few West Coast Eagles supporters that really get my goat, and one's our producer, Amy, who wanted to tell me that Fremantle can't score, and then we had an argument about who's better.
Sure.
But their team could at least score, which she's saying the West Coast Eagles. So the West Coast Eagles this year have kicked 85 goals, Amy, and they've had 142 goals kicked against them. Fremantle have kicked 108 goals. That's more.
Yeah.
And they've had less kicked against them, which is 95.
This is
so
brought to you by our
West Coast
sponsors
Eagles
at
supporters out there whose teams won 7 in 68 games. Can I repeat that? 7 in 68 games.
Shaun, can you get me that
You're
on
not
a pie
travelling too well.
Didn't your mob kick 1 goal, 1 in a half of
Mate,
football?
you can bring it back, but you guys have
2
been
weeks
terrible
ago.
all year now. 0 and 9. But I do suspect you'll win this week. Absolutely, I do.
Oh, now with that.
Just to wind things up, if you're watching the Giro to tell you this morning, you would have seen stage 3 and a couple of goats went across the road and took out one of the riders. That was really good fun.
Bikes?
Sorry?
Yes, bikes, yes. So actual goats, not the greatest of all time. Was it Serena Williams and Roger Federer? What happened? Who was it?
Different goats over Italy. They're big ones, yeah.
Big mean goats.
Yeah.
So it's like a bike race where you have to like dodge goats. I'd watch that.
Yeah, it was very, very entertaining. Good luck to the guys on the next 17 stages.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.